Designing a planting plan for your vegetable garden can be a little challenging, especially if you're trying to plan for 3 seasons of production. So to get started, the first thing you want to do is make a list of all the vegetables everybody in your family enjoys, and be sure to ask everybody in the family. It was quickly pointed out to me that I left the collard greens out of our garden. Leave it to a northerner, huh? The next thing you want to do is determine how much of each plant you want to grow and determine how much space it's going to require. And then indicate whether it's a spring, summer, or fall crop. And from there you could start to try to find possible arrangements. The way I do this is I used some index cards, and I have different sized cards that correspond to the relatively different sized area the plants take up. So winter squash is much larger, zucchini smaller, radishes are the smallest size, for example. And then I grouped these by plant family. And so this is the basis of my 4 rotations. And then of course there's going to be these extra plants that aren't part of one of those major families, but I want to find a space for them. And so I need to look for space both in terms of area in the garden, but also over time the amount of extra space is going to change. So I did a little color coding to indicate the season of production. So I used purple for spring crops, green for summer crops, and orange for fall crops. And now I could find extra space for some of these extra plants. And here with my brassicas, I quickly see there's nothing growing in the summer, so that would be a great place to add my corn or my okra. Over here with the cucurbits or even with the solanaceous plants, there aren't very many spring crops, so that might be a nice place to add carrots or lettuce. And remember, I had pointed out earlier that it's a good idea to keep plants in the same family together. Our beets are related to our spinach, so I want to keep them together in the rotation. Now you can do this same kind of thing using tracing paper laid over graph paper. I just drew out my garden beds, and I can lay tracing paper over that and try a number of different arrangements. And it might take a few tries until you find what works best in your own vegetable garden. Today we're going to start our tomato seeds. Now there's many reasons that gardeners choose to start their own seeds at home rather than purchasing transplants, and one of those is a savings in cost. But also there's a wider variety of cultivars available if you order your seeds and start them yourself rather than go to the garden center to pick them out. And finally, you could time when those seedlings are ready to transplant. You can make sure that they're ready when you're ready to put them out into the field. So to get started, we need a container. You can use a variety of containers that you purchase from a garden center, a flat or a cell pack. You can also use materials from around the house like an egg carton or plastic tray. Now if you use something, whatever you use, you want to make sure that there's really good drainage. If you use something like this, you're going to want to poke holes in the bottom so that the water can come out. The next thing we're going to need is a medium to grow our seeds in. There's a wide arrangement of ready-made mixes available, and what we're looking for in our potting medium is good drainage but also high water holding capacity. And those two things sound a little bit contradictory, but we want the medium to hold enough moisture that the seeds are going to be able to germinate but not be too wet, because that could cause disease problems. And a lot of times these mixes will have sphagnum peat or vermiculite, which have both of those good qualities we're looking for. Now light can often be a limiting factor when you're starting seeds indoors. For really good sturdy seedlings, ideally we want between 12 and 14 hours of daylight. And so often we have to supplement natural lighting. And a good way to do that is to use a shop light that has alternating cool and warm fluorescent bulbs in it. Okay, well we're ready to start our seeds. And we're going to use a flat, and the way we like to plant them is we make little mounds in our flat. If you're going to just have rows, you want to space your rows about 2 to 3 inches apart. And then down the center of each mound we use just a little plant label to make a trough where we're going to put the seeds. And I am planting some tomatoes today, and I'm just going to sprinkle those seeds right down the trough. And these are going to be transplanted pretty quickly, so the final distance, the row distance, isn't going to be too critical in here. And then I'm just going to pinch the soil over the top like that. Now moisture, managing moisture in here can be a little bit challenging. And so what we like to do is get our soil wet before we plant. And the reason for that is it can be hard to get a nice even moisture in the soil. And that way, if it's already prepared, we don't come in and try to water on top of the seeds and wash the seeds out into a different row. So this is much easier. And then once we have the seeds planted, we'll cover it with plastic, and that'll help keep that moisture trapped in there. You can see all the water that's trapped on the plastic here. And that's just keeping our soil nice and damp. Now once our seedlings emerge through the soil, we want to remove the plastic so that they can grow. One final consideration in starting your seeds is fertilizer. You don't actually have to fertilize until we're ready to transplant those seedlings, and that's going to be when the first true leaves appear. The seeds have all the energy the plant needs to get started. And once we transplant and begin fertilizing, although the rates on the label often say to fertilize every week, usually just every 2 to 3 weeks is going to be sufficient.